The world's wealthiest people seem to be becoming more and more interested in extreme forms of travel as they want to indulge their hunger for adventure. The latest incident involving the Titan submarine, which had a small cabin and temporary restrooms, highlighted the up-arling lengths to which some billionaires will go in search of the greatest adrenaline rush. The most extravagant activity that billionaires partake in is flying around the moon, which comes in first. This risky expedition has only been attempted by the most daring of the bold, with a staggering price tag of $150 million. 24 people have traveled into space as a result of the visionary tycoons Richard Branson and Charles Simeone opening the door for others. With a price tag of $55 million, space travel is not far behind. The fascinating world of Earth's orbit has been reached by a limited group of 622 people, including notables like Jeff Bezos and Mark Shuttleworth. There have been 31 persons who have attempted the Blue Origin space voyage, which is not far behind and has drawn explorers like Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson. The fourth place on the list goes to the International Space Station, ISS, which offers those with the means an extraordinary and exhilarating experience. 244 people have made trips to the ISS for a total of $20 million, including billionaires like Charles Simeone and Dennis Dito. Also a favorite among billionaires is diving to the bottom of the sea. James Cameron and two other daring individuals have been lured to the Mariana Trench, the deepest area of the ocean, to go scuba diving, with a $750,000 price tag for admittance. With an investment of $250,000, shipwreck diving is another marine activity that has attracted the interest of billionaire explorers. With the inclusion of rhino hunting, a contentious and dangerous pastime, the list also takes an unexpected turn. This endeavor has caught the attention of billionaires and is only legitimately allowed in Namibia and South Africa. The only billionaire who has spent $275,000 for the chance to shoot an ancient black rhino is 81-year-old Lacey Harbour, who stands out as being the only one. A journey to the South Pole, climbing Mount Everest, and shark diving are some of the further goals. These pursuits, which range in price from $5,000 to $100,000, provide a blend of excitement, discovery, and adventure, appealing to the restless spirit of billionaires. Extreme tourism is becoming increasingly popular, and it is obvious that billionaires are pushing the limits of discovery and adventure. These high-risk pursuits give a look into the courageous lives led by some of the wealthiest people in the world, from the depths of the ocean to the emptiness of space. 5 years ago, a well-known deep-sea expert forewarned OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush that his plans to take tourists 12,500 feet down to the RMS Titanic's wreckage in an unclassified, uncertified submersible vehicle would meet the same end as the doomed ocean liner. According to the BBC, Rob McCallum explained to Rush in a series of 2018 emails that the ship, the Titan, was built from an experimental carbon fiber material known for tearing under stress, and failed to meet safety and stability standards set by well-known marine organizations. The Titan was named after the shipwreck it was intended to visit. Rush was criticized by McCallum for saying, "You are echoing that famous catch cry. She is unsinkable." However, the CEO of OceanGate did not value the criticism. Rush said at the time, "I consider this as a significant personal affront. We have heard the false screams of 'you are going to kill someone' much too often." Approximately 8 in the morning on June 18, the Titan and its 5 passengers made their last descent into the Atlantic Ocean. The ship's connection with its command ship, the Polar Prince, was lost around an hour and 45 minutes into its descent to the Titanic debris. The result was a frantic international search and rescue operation that lasted 4 excruciating days while the rest of the world watched and awaited news. The destiny of the 5 passengers on board served as the subject of a macabre debate. Were they already dead as a result of a pressure leak? Or were they crowded together in a 22-foot vessel at the bottom of the sea, slowly losing oxygen? A remotely operated underwater vehicle discovered a Titan debris field on the bottom on the Thursday, approximately 1,600 feet from the Titanic's bow, and Rush and his 4 companions were assumed dead as a result. According to officials, the debris was consistent with the vessel experiencing a catastrophic implosion, which would have instantly killed the passengers on board. Following the Titan's demise, a wide range of business leaders, deep-sea experts, oceanographers, and even former passengers spoke out to expose grave errors in the design and engineering of the ship, as well as the deadly hubris of its designer. Together, their accounts and grievances form a picture of a submersible that was built and run by a CEO who reveled in his contempt for safety laws, and which was dreadfully under-equipped. In a 2021 interview with vlogger Alan Estrada, Rush recalled that "I think it was General Douglas MacArthur who said, 'You're remembered for the rules you break.' And to create this, I broke a few rules." As word of the Titan's disappearance circulated, the fact that it had 96 hours of oxygen on board sparked a frantic countdown for the expedition to save the 5 men inside. Paul-Henri Nargeolet, a well-known French diver who had visited the Titanic numerous times, Hamish Harding, a British billionaire and explorer who had previously travelled to space on a Blue Origin flight last year, Pakistani-British tycoon Shahzada Wood, who had grown up with a keen interest in the Titanic, and Dawood's 19-year-old son Sulman were all with Rush on the journey to the ocean floor. Officials in charge of search and rescue first put on a positive front, stressing that the mission's principal objective was to save the 5 men rather than locate the Titan's wreckage. Ships from the United States, Canada, France, and the United Kingdom arrived to comb an area twice the size of Connecticut beneath the ocean's surface. Officials from the US and Canadian militaries dispatched numerous aircraft to the area as well, where they set up sonar buoys that can pick up sound waves up to 13,000 feet deep. Each new information regarding the Titan that was made public as the investigation into OceanGate and the Titan grew more intense seemed even more shocking and distressing than the previous one. The ship was controlled by a customized low-G-Tech gaming controller, furnished with a Camping World interior light, and fastened with 17 bolts that could only be accessed from the outside. Every mission it had undertaken had resulted in the loss of communication with its command ship, and once it had been cut off for more than 2 hours as the command ship was used by CBS to tape a TV segment. In his episode for CBS last year, correspondent David Pogue observed that the ship had a MacGyver jerry-riggedness. The situation was met with an equally strange response on land. In the midst of the public interest in Harding, the British billionaire who was aboard the Titan, his 37-year-old stepson Brian's created headlines of his own by tweeting a picture of himself at a Blink-182 concert in the midst of the continuous search and rescue operations. Sus then got into a fight with rapper Cardi B after she chastised him for going to a concert rather than remaining home to console his mother. Public condemnation against OceanGate's CEO escalated as previously unreleased Rush interviews started to circulate, showing him laughing off safety concerns and proudly breaking the law. "If you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't go in your car, don't do anything," Rush said Pogue in an interview. "You know, at some point, safety is just pure waste," Rush said. "You're going to take some risks at some point, and the question is really one of risk versus reward." Several of OceanGate's former passengers have spoken out about disasters on their travels, and June 18 was not the company's first expedition to the Titanic with a submersible vessel. Showrunner of The Simpsons Mike Rice admitted to 4 excursions with OceanGate, one of which was to the Titanic wreckage, to various media sites. According to him, on each of the 4 visits, his submersible was unable to reach the command ship. He noted that every time they lost communication, there just seems to be something baked into the system. Rice recounted being required to sign a massive waiver that lists one after another ways that you could die on the trip, adding that the word death appeared 3 times on the form's first page. For earlier than the Titan's first trips, there were safety worries. A letter from roughly 30 business professionals expressing unanimous concern on OceanGate's Titan development strategy was addressed to Rush in January 2018 by the group. In addition to accusing Rush of misleading the public over the Titan's safety features, the letter demanded Rush to submit the vehicle to independent testing. The letter cautioned that OceanGate's present experimental approach could result in negative outcomes, from minor to catastrophic, that would have serious consequences for everyone in the industry. An expert in submersibles named Cole Stanley told the New York Times that during one of his 12,000-foot descents in the Titan in 2019 off the coast of the Bahamas, he overheard a cracking sound that grew louder over the course of several hours. The following day, he begged Rush in an email to halt planned expeditions to the Titanic. According to emails acquired by the Times, Stanley wrote that the noises sounded like a flaw, defect in one area being acted on by the tremendous pressures and being crushed, damaged, adding that the sound suggested there was an area of the hull that is breaking down. Rush never responded, according to Stanley, who told the Times, although the CEO did cancel the planned dives that year and build a new hull. James Cameron, an Oscar-winning director and deep-sea explorer, was one of those who had doubts about the Titan's capability. Cameron claimed he even turned down a clear offer from Rush to dive to the Titan wreck this season. Cameron, who has personally dove to the Titanic 33 times, told Reuters that OceanGate shouldn't have been doing what it was doing, and expressed regret for not speaking out more fiercely against the submersible's carbon fiber hull and lack of certificates. Now one wreck is resting next to the other wreck, he said. The same dreadful explanation. Material composition of the Titan submersible. Carbon fiber reinforced plastic, CFRP, was used to build the hull of the Titan submersible, and titanium alloy was used to create the hemispherical domes at each end of the craft. Due to the fact that CFRP is a composite material, two different materials were combined to create it, giving it its unique mechanical qualities. In order to hold carbon fibers together and create strong, lightweight structures, a polymer is added to them, since despite their incredible tensile strength, they are useless on their own. By evenly distributing forces throughout all the structure's fibers, the polymer keeps the fibers aligned, enabling the material to withstand tensile, compressive, and flexural loads. A laminate made of several layers can be constructed and heated and compressed to cure. Composites, in contrast to metallic structures, are anisotropic, meaning that their qualities are not the same in all directions. Their strength and stiffness are significantly greater along the direction of the fibers. This has the disadvantage of requiring that individual layers be oriented to assure acceptable mechanical characteristics in various orientations. But it has the advantage of enabling engineers to customize the material to meet anticipated stresses. What effects might this material have in a submersible application? A very efficient and optimized design is possible thanks to the ability to tailor mechanical properties and inherent lightweight. This offers two different benefits for submersible applications. It enables a higher payload, number of passengers, and a higher natural buoyancy, minimizing the requirement for extra materials or systems. It is extensively documented, understood, and regulated to use composite materials in a variety of applications. Deep water submersibles, on the other hand, offer a fresh application and are subjected to stronger compressive stresses than in any other environment. Although composites can be made to resist these stresses, they are significantly more susceptible to flaws than in any other loading scenario. If a metallic structure is pushed past its practical limits, a process known as plastic yielding will occur, causing gradual distortion. The structure has been compromised and repairs are required, therefore this serves as a warning. Composite materials, on the other hand, do not show any plastic yielding and frequently appear to fail catastrophically without any prior warning. In fact, microscopic failures can happen every time the structure is loaded or are produced during the intricate fabrication process. Misaligned fibers, inadequate layer consolidation, thermal history, contamination, resin flow, or uneven heating during curing are just a few examples of inherent flaws that may occur. The sensitivity of composite constructions to unintentional small impacts is another factor. The pace at which defects develop, notably the formation of voids and delaminations between individual layers in the laminate, is accelerated where these defects exist as a result of the surrounding material being subjected to higher loads. Each time the submersible descends, there is a steady cyclic loading that causes these flaws to develop and eventually combine. Any transverse loads that are perpendicular to the surface in a composite are exclusively supported by the polymer, since the fibers are oriented in the laminate's plane. Because of this, compressive loading causes the laminate to buckle when sufficiently substantial delaminations exist, which leads to a quick loss of structural integrity and collapse. As part of a structural monitoring system that is already in operation, the gradual yielding of metallic structures can also be easily identified using strain gauges, and remedial action can be done to prevent failure. The window through which strain gauges can provide an effective warning is smaller due to the greater stiffness and lower strain to failure of composite materials. Likewise, acoustic emission sensors can only detect the higher energy release brought on by the coalescence of flaws, which takes place within microseconds before catastrophic collapse. Utilizing cutting-edge materials like composites provides a number of established advantages, and their safe application has been demonstrated in a variety of industries. The manufacture and in-service usage of these products are, however, subject to rigorous testing, certification, and regulation. There are also rigorous lifespan restrictions to accommodate for unavoidable defect generation before an aircraft is retired in key industries like aerospace, where heavy cyclic loads is expected. These procedures all work to reduce composite defect rates and guarantee that the structure satisfies the requirements of the design for safe operation. It is unclear how these stack up against the procedures used by the submersible's manufacturer and operators, which may have led to a higher defect rate and a larger likelihood of the structural collapse indicated above, which would have buckled the hull and caused a quick implosion. The introduction of a composite hull into submersible designs must also take into account any mismatch in material properties at the interface with the titanium alloy bulkheads, and how this can be amplified by high compressive and thermal cycling. To prevent any weak places, the materials specified for viewing ports must be adequate and must perform at a level equal to or higher than all other materials used in the construction. This only serves to highlight the significance and necessity of adhering to accepted design concepts and engineering practices, regulated manufacturing processes, traceability and non-destructive testing, as well as ongoing monitoring and inspection of structures where lives are at danger if a failure occurs. There will be suggestions on how to prevent catastrophes in the future. Some have already been presented. The Titanic disaster should immediately be made off limits to tourist submersibles, according to Titanic Historical Society President Charles Haas. If crew and passenger safety is not of the first importance, diving should not take place. Rush neglected the most important rule of all by concentrating on the shortcomings of his submersible's design. He neglected to put the safety of himself and his passengers first in his irrational pursuit of innovation. More monitoring is the way forward. Deep water exploration regulation is currently difficult in international waters. However, regulating agencies like the International Maritime Organization of the United Nations may decide to take action to stop such catastrophes from happening in the future. But who regulates deep-sea explorations? Deep-sea exploration is conducted in murky seas, as the Titan's descent into the North Atlantic demonstrates. Risk-taking business people and the rich tourists who help them realize their ambitions can operate freely in this region of the high seas, at least for the time being. The Titan was in international waters outside the purview of several US or foreign laws. It wasn't registered as a US vessel, it wasn't registered with any international organizations in charge of overseeing safety, and it wasn't even given a classification by a body representing the maritime industry that sets criteria for things like hull design. The Titan pilot and CEO of OceanGate Expeditions, Stockton Rush, who was one of the victims, had previously stated he didn't want to be burdened by those kinds of demands. The Coast Guard is going to keep looking in the area of the Titanic for more hints as to what happened to the Titan. There is no set timetable for when officials will stop the search. and there is still no certainty that the missing person will be found or recovered. The cargo ship, Polar Prince, will be the focus of the Transportation Safety Board of Canada's investigation into the Titan's disappearance, which it announced on Friday. The Titan submarine was housed on board the Canadian-flagged Polar Prince, which also functioned as its mothership. The Polar Prince will be investigated by the Transportation Safety Board in its capacity as a support vessel, and the agency will carry out a safety investigation into the conditions of the operation, the agency stated. According to experts, the Titan case will certainly move on to include wrongful death and negligence cases, both of which have a chance of success. However, legal lawsuits will encounter other obstacles, including disclaimers that the Titan passengers very certainly signed that warned of the numerous ways they could die. For the U.S. Coast Guard alone, the cost of the search will probably reach the millions of dollars. Additionally, rushing to provide resources and experience were the U.S. Navy, the Canadian Coast Guard, and other government and commercial organizations. There isn't another ocean search like it, especially with so many nations and even businesses involved, according to Virginia-based naval historian, commentator, and author Norman Palmer. The cost of operating the aircraft is high alone. The cost of using the turboprop P-3 Orion, jet-powered P-8 Poseidon sub-hunters, C-130 Hercules, and other aircraft in the search has been estimated by the Pentagon at tens of thousands of dollars each hour. Some organizations may ask for reimbursement. But according to Stephen Courting, a U.S. attorney in Maine who specializes in maritime law, the U.S. Coast Guard is generally banned by federal law from demanding payment relative to any search or rescue effort. As Stephen King says, a tragedy is a tragedy, and at the bottom, all tragedies are stupid. Give me a choice, and I'll take A Midsummer Night's Dream over Hamlet every time. Any fool with steady hands and a working set of lungs can build up a house of cards and then blow it down, but it takes a genius to make people laugh. You can suggest topics you want to see next in the comment section below. Please subscribe to Weather Collapse if you want to know more, and be updated on the latest news about natural calamities or disasters happening all over the world, and don't forget to like today's video. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.